Hey, gorgeous people. Happy Friday, November 21st. Today, we're going to be talking about how to drive yourself absolutely fucking insane with astrology in 5 minutes or less. That's right. We are going to tackle one of the most commonly received questions that I get, which is, should I start tracking the moon? And the answer to that is maybe. As always, I'm your fearless host, Alexandra Blair. And every week on my channel, we try to drag astrology out of these dry, dusty old textbooks down into our lives, into our bones, into our days, into our media, and into the personal mythologies we're already living. Today is no exception. One of the most commonly asked questions I get when people first start tracking transits is, should I start tracking the moon? And followed quickly by, how do I start tracking the moon? The truth is that tracking the moon can go from beginner friendly to advanced really, really quickly. The moon changes signs every 2.5 days. It also has phases that you can track. It goes void of course. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do with the moon, and that's not even to mention the eclipses. And I think if you try to jump right into tracking where the moon is every single day, it can get overwhelming pretty quickly. So today I want to talk about some of the easiest and most accessible ways that I personally work with the moon and that I think you can too. These methods get a little more complex as we go, so it starts really accessible and simple, and then we add layers in. My first tip is to work with the new and full moons. This is the easiest way to start working with the moon because we have been tracking the full and new moons as humans for arguably tens of thousands of years, but certainly thousands of years. We have always noticed these. The new moon is when the moon is dark. It is a new beginning and it is a seeding point. A very powerful symbolism of the moon dying and being reborn. And then when we get to the full moon, those are the fruiting points of those seeds. And the cycle from new to full moon is roughly 2 weeks long. Then from full to new moon, it's another 2 weeks. One of my clients has a practice that I think is really brilliant. She has a journal that she uses specifically for new and full moons. And on the new moon, she will write a list of her goals and dreams for that specific lunation based on which house in her chart it falls for her. So if it was a 4th house new moon in Leo and she wanted to sell her house, she would write that down. And then 6 months later, when that full moon comes back around in Leo, she will actually go back and look at the seeds that she planted in the new moon, and she'll check in on it and she will add to it and massage it. And it's just a way for her to kind of chart her growth. And then when the next new moon in Leo comes about 6 months later during Leo season, she'll reset all of that and start again. And that cycle has repeated for her for years. So she gets to see patterns forming in real time. Now, even if you aren't doing a moon journal, you can actually go back in time and look at the new moon that corresponds with the full moon we live through. And you can see how the things and the seeds that you planted played out. You can find a list of new and full moons on the Astrotheoros 2026 yearly ephemeris, which is beautifully designed and free to download at astrotheoros.com. You can see how those new and full moons align with your chart in the Astrotheoros software. As you guys know, I am an Astrotheoros partner, so you can use my code, the number 9 lives, to receive a month free and sign up and check it out. I personally would sit with the new and full moons for at least a year before trying to track anything else. It took me several years into my practice before I started doing anything other than this. I do not track the moon every day. I love her. I'm a Cancer moon and we have a special little connection, but I feel like daily tracking really pulls me way too close into a sense of passion about my fate. And I prefer to remain a little bit dispassionate about my fate and a little bit stoic about my fate. I like some mystery in my life and I like my life to unfold without me micromanaging every little feeling through a chart. All right, phase 2 is to just start observing yourself. In some ways, this is harder than phase 1, but in some ways it's easier. Once you have that lunar rhythm in your body, you can really start paying attention to yourself, not the moon, to you. And this is where the real magic happens because tracking the moon is so personal. It really is, and it should be. There's no book in the world that is going to tell you your personal lived experience of when the moon goes through this or that sign. So what I started doing was I realized that I have this little persona that I slip into reliably, pretty much once every month, but sometimes it happens at random. I become very hypercritical and very judgmental, and it is so spot on. Every single time I felt this feeling, I decided I was going to check the moon, and the moon was in Virgo. Every single time. There are also signs where I get melancholic or signs where I get pretty austere. There are signs where I am exuberant or super turned on. And then there's Capricorn. I actually flourish with the moon in Capricorn because Capricorn is my first house. So even though the moon is in the sign of her detriment in Capricorn and people would not expect that, for me, it creates this really optimistic, clean, excited, creative feeling. It's a full moon moment to my own moon in Cancer, and it really lights me up. This is why you cannot take anyone else's word for what the moon means in X sign, particularly when we're looking at transits or tracking the moon. All right, advanced mode, you've heard all that. You're ready to track the moon daily. If you really want to do that, you need tools. You can definitely use an astrology site like AstroSeek to do it, but AstroSeek, though it is awesomely free, refreshes the page every time you animate a chart, and it gets pretty annoying pretty fast. And if you're an amateur astrologer, take my recommendation, test out Astrotheoros. It makes it really easy. You can also use lots of different phone apps. Even the sciencey phone apps will tell you what moon phase we are living through. But really what you want is something that helps you see the sign, the degrees, the aspects, the phase, the speed of the moon at a glance. And if you do track daily, I highly recommend pairing this with some kind of spiritual practice to keep yourself a little bit dispassionate. So whether that is yoga or meditation or reading Marcus Aurelius meditations, the moment this stops being a neutral activity, the moment it pulls you into over-identifying with every single mood and micro-feeling, it is time to take a step back. Astrology is meant to open our perspective, not collapse it, and certainly not to make us doom and gloom and catastrophize. Remember that once you know where the new and full moons are, you can kind of do the math backward in your head because the moon changes signs every 2.5 days. And the cycle from new moon to new moon is about 29.5 days. So with practice, you kind of don't even need the software. You can kind of do it in your head. I have recommended this book on my channel before, but if you're interested in working with the stations of the moon as it moves throughout the zodiac, I would highly recommend this book by J.M. Hamadi. It's called Procession of the Night Theater, and it is a beautiful, poetic, articulate, literary journey through the lunar positions in the zodiac as classified by several different traditions of astrology. All right, closing arguments, if you'll allow it, give yourself a few months at least, maybe even a year of just observing and working with the new and full moons, and then start paying attention at any point that it feels healthy and good to how you feel in different moon signs, or to maybe recurring feelings and emotions that happen throughout your life that seem to occur at a rhythmic pattern. And then after that, and after you're sure that your nervous system can handle it, because that's going to be a big theme of 2026, after you're sure that you can handle it, you can move into that daily monitoring. This is how you build a lunar practice and a lunar tracking practice that actually supports your life instead of overwhelming it. If you want more tools for tracking the sky, you can book a one-on-one reading with me. I also have a transit tracking digital lecture that you can purchase called Planetary Rhythms. That link is in the description. And if you're already nervous about 2026, let's take a few calming deep breaths together. You can hear all about the astrology of 2026 in a grounded and personalized way at the Fault Lines and New Frontiers workshop that I'm hosting with Whitney Kranz and Sarah Posh. Tickets are linked in the description below. We're doing it over 2 weeks because we don't want to be overwhelming and we don't want to be sensational. We actually just want to give you guys an idea of what's going on because there is some crazy stuff that's coming up in 2026. And we think that everybody deserves to feel prepared for it. As always, gorgeous people, have an incredible weekend, and I will see you on Monday.